The rain had finally stopped, leaving the world slick and sighing when the oldest cat in town limped into Jamie's overgrown backyard. Not hesitating, not sniffing the air uncertainly, the frail Ginger Tom moved with an unnerving, bone-deep certainty. His matted fur clung to a frame gaunt with age and hardship, each step a visible effort, yet his milky, clouded eyes fixed unerringly on the tangled thicket of wild roses near the rusted garden shed, a place Jamie hadn't touched in years. It wasn't a stray looking for scraps. It was a creature arriving at an urgent appointment, dragging the weight of years and a secret purpose Jamie couldn't begin to fathom. The sheer, ancient determination in that broken gait, the absolute focus radiating from those cloudy eyes, froze Jamie mid-step on the back porch, a cold prickle of disbelief chasing the damp chill down their spine. This cat knew. Jamie dropped the mug of tea they'd been holding. It shattered on the weathered decking, ignored. Every instinct screamed that this wasn't just another neighborhood cat. This was different, fragile, driven, without conscious thought. Jamie was moving down the steps, the damp grass soaking through their socks. The cat, sensing their approach, didn't flinch or flee. He merely paused, his ragged sides heaving, and turned that ancient, knowing gaze upon Jamie. It wasn't fear Jamie saw, nor simple exhaustion. It was a profound, weary wisdom, and beneath it a desperate plea that resonated deep in Jamie's chest. The air crackled with unspoken urgency. "Hey there," Jamie murmured, crouching slowly, voice thick with a sudden, inexplicable lump. "Easy, old-timer. What brings you?" The words died. The cat wasn't looking at Jamie anymore. He'd resumed his laborious trek, heading straight for the dense tangle of thorny canes and weeds beneath the shed window. He moved like a pilgrim, nearing a shrine, each painful step deliberate. Jamie followed, heart hammering against their ribs. The scent of wet earth, decaying leaves, and the faint metallic tang of old rust filled the air, underscored by the raspy, uneven sound of the cat's breathing. He pushed through a gap in the lower branches, disappearing into the gloom beneath the shed's sagging eaves. Jamie hesitated only a second before dropping to their knees, ignoring the cold mud seeping through their jeans, and peered into the dimness. The cat was there, a shadow against deeper shadows. He wasn't resting. He was digging. Weak, trembling, front paws scraped feebly at the hard-packed earth beneath the shed's foundation. Dirt flew in small, pathetic arcs. A low, guttural sound, more vibration than meow, rumbled from his chest. It was a sound of pure, agonizing effort. Why here? What could possibly be buried in this forgotten corner that mattered so much to this dying creature? Jamie's mind raced. Buried treasure? A long-lost toy? The absurdity warred with the chilling intensity of the scene. This wasn't random. This felt ritualistic. "Stop," Jamie whispered, reaching a hand into the gloom, fear lacing the word. "You'll hurt yourself more." But the cat ignored them, driven by a compulsion Jamie couldn't understand. He scraped harder, his claws catching on something unseen, beneath the loose dirt he'd managed to displace. Not roots, something smoother, something man-made? A small curved edge, dark against the soil, caught the faint light filtering through the thicket. The cat paused, panting heavily, his entire frail body trembling with the exertion. He lowered his head, nudging the object with his nose, a soft, broken chirp escaping him. Then, with a final shuddering sigh that seemed to come from the depths of his being, his legs simply gave way. He collapsed sideways onto the disturbed earth, his breath now a terrifyingly shallow rattle. "No!" Jamie scrambled forward, thorns tearing at their sleeves. They reached the cat, ignoring the scrape of wood against their back. The air under the shed was thick with the smell of damp earth, mold, and the sharp coppery scent of blood. Panic seized Jamie. They gently scooped the frail body. The cat offered no resistance, utterly spent. His fur was wet not just from rain, but from something sticky matting the fur on his left flank. Jamie hadn't seen it before, hidden by his posture and the dim light. Now cradled against Jamie's chest, the dark, clotted mess was horrifyingly evident. A deep wound, partially hidden by matted fur, seeped slowly. How long had he been bleeding? How far had he walked like this? Carrying the impossibly light bundle, Jamie stumbled back into the watery daylight. The cat felt cold, terrifyingly fragile. His cloudy eyes were half open, unfocused, his breathing agonizingly shallow. The mystery of the digging, the object barely glimpsed, was instantly eclipsed by raw, immediate terror. This ancient creature, this bearer of some profound, unknown mission, was fading right in Jamie's arms. The urgency wasn't just about solving a puzzle now, it was a desperate race against time. Rushing inside, Jamie laid the cat gently on a folded towel on the kitchen table. The stark fluorescent light was cruel, revealing every scar, every patch of missing fur, the deep hollows beneath his eyes, and the sickening extent of the wound on his flank. It wasn't fresh. It looked infected, angry red edges surrounding a deep puncture. How had he survived this long? How had he walked here? Jamie grabbed clean cloths and warm water, hands shaking. "Hold on," they pleaded, dabbing gently at the wound. The cat flinched, a weak, pained mew escaping him, his body tensing for a second before going limp again. "Please, just hold on. I need to know why you came." The questions swirled, frantic and unanswerable. Who was he? Where did he belong? Who had hurt him? And what was buried under the shed that was worth this final, agonizing journey? The image of the cat's absolute focus, his unwavering path directly to that specific spot beneath the roses, haunted Jamie. It felt like a message, a final task undertaken against impossible odds. The object he'd uncovered, it had looked like aged leather, perhaps a corner of a pouch or a book. Buried treasure seemed ludicrous, yet the cat's determination had been anything but. As Jamie carefully cleaned around the wound, trying not to cause more pain, their fingers brushed against something hard and flat beneath the matted fur on the cat's neck. Not a wound. A collar, hidden by years of neglect and overgrown fur. Jamie carefully parted the clumped hair, revealing a narrow strip of worn, cracked leather. And attached to it, almost fused by grime and time, was a small, rectangular metal tag. Jamie's breath hitched, an identity, a name, a possible owner. Hope, fragile and terrifying, flickered. Using a damp cloth, they gently worked at the grime encrusting the tag. Letters began to emerge, worn almost smooth but still faintly legible. They leaned closer, heart pounding, deciphering the etched words one painstaking letter at a time. Thar-ia. First word was clear. Whisper. The cat had a name. Whisper. It suited his silent, determined arrival. Jamie's fingers trembled as they wiped harder, revealing the line below. A phone number? An address? The second line emerged. If found, followed by a street name Jamie knew intimately, one that sent a jolt of ice water through their veins. Return to 17 Willow Lane. Jamie froze. The cloth fell from numb fingers. 17 Willow Lane. That wasn't just any address. That was their old address. The house where Jamie had grown up. The house their family had sold over 15 years ago, when their grandmother, Alara, had moved into assisted living. Alara, who had loved ginger cats, who had always had at least one curled in her lap or sunning themselves in her wild, rose-filled garden. Alara, who had passed away peacefully, but heartbrokenly alone according to the nurses just 6 months ago. Whisper. Alara had named her last cat Whisper, a tiny, mewling ginger kitten Jamie remembered visiting years ago, who would sit silently, watching everything with huge, knowing eyes. This frail, dying skeleton couldn't be. The implications crashed over Jamie like a physical wave. How? Why? Had Whisper been out there alone all these years since Alara moved? Had someone else taken him in? But the tag, the address, the deliberate journey to this yard, Alara's old garden, to dig beneath that specific rose bush she'd planted decades ago, it was impossible. Yet the evidence was lying barely breathing on the table. The object he'd been digging for, buried by Alara, for Whisper to find, or for someone else. The mystery deepened, twisting into something profoundly personal and achingly sad. Just as Jamie's mind reeled, Trying to process the connection, the awful wound, the impossible journey, Whisper stirred. With a surge of effort that seemed to drain the very last of his reserves, his clouded eyes blinked open. They didn't search the room in confusion. They locked directly onto Jamie's face. And in that gaze, beneath the pain and the exhaustion, Jamie saw a flicker of recognition, not just of a rescuer, but of something deeper. A connection spanning years and loss. A faint rumbling purr vibrated weakly in his chest, a sound like distant thunder, fragile and heartbreaking. He nudged his head weakly against Jamie's hand, still resting near his neck. Then, the purr stuttered, stopped. His body, which had held such fierce, ancient determination, went utterly, terrifyingly still. The shallow rise and fall of his ribs ceased. His eyes, still fixed on Jamie, seemed to dim, the last spark of that deep, weary wisdom fading into emptiness. "Whisper!" Jamie's cry tore through the silent kitchen, raw with disbelief and a grief that felt ancient and brand new all at once. They pressed trembling fingers against the cat's frail chest, searching for a heartbeat, a breath, anything. Nothing. The silence that followed was deafening, absolute and suffocating. The oldest cat in town, Whisper, Alara's Whisper, had found his way home, delivered his mysterious message buried under the roses, and then simply stopped. The mystery wasn't solved. It had just claimed its protagonist. Jamie was left holding a silent, broken body, the cryptic object still buried, and a devastating question hanging in the air. Had Whisper come here to die? Or had the journey itself, and the shock of recognition, been too much for his old, wounded heart? The fragile hope of moments ago shattered, leaving only chilling silence and the weight of unfinished business pressing down. The story isn't over, but can a miracle still bloom from such devastating silence? The silence in the kitchen wasn't just the absence of sound, it was a physical weight crushing Jamie's chest. Whisper lay utterly still on the towel, his clouded eyes staring vacantly past the ceiling, the faint warmth already leaching from his frail body. "No," Jamie choked, the word a ragged whisper against the suffocating stillness. "Not like this. Not now." 15 years of absence, a lifetime of unspoken love from a grandmother, and a mystery buried under roses. It couldn't end with this fragile messenger gone. Desperation, sharp and primal, overrode grief. Jamie's hands, trembling, moments before moved with sudden, fierce purpose. They tilted Whisper's head back gently, exposing his throat. Pinching his tiny nose shut, Jamie covered his muzzle with their own mouth and blew. A small, measured breath, feeling the terrifying lack of resistance in the cat's chest. Nothing. Again. A third breath. Then, fingers finding the fragile. Ribcage just behind the front legs, Jamie began compressions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, breathe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, breathe. The rhythm was frantic, clumsy, fueled by a terrifying love for a cat they'd just met. A cat who was Grandma Alara's last living piece. The kitchen clock ticked, impossibly loud. Each compression felt like pressing on a bundle of dry twigs. "Please, please, you came so far. You knew where to go. Don't leave me now." A minute stretched into an eternity. Sweat stung Jamie's eyes. Doubt screamed. It's too late. He was too old, too hurt. But the image of Whisper's determined limp towards the shed, the way his milky eyes had locked onto Jamie's with that flicker of recognition, Jamie pushed harder. "Come on, Whisper. Grandma needs you to stay." The plea ripped out, raw and echoing, then a shudder, so faint Jamie almost missed it. A tremor under their pressing fingers. They paused, breath held. Whisper's side hitched. Once. Twice. A wet, ragged gasp tore from his throat, followed by a weak, bubbling cough. His chest rose, fell, rose again, shallow, irregular, but there. Life, fragile as a cobweb, had returned. The milky eyes blinked slowly, unfocused, then drifted towards Jamie's face. The recognition wasn't there this time, just a dazed, painful confusion. But he was breathing. Relief was a tidal wave, instantly followed by crushing urgency. He was alive, but barely. The infected wound, the exhaustion, the shock. He needed a vet now. Jamie snatched their phone, fingers fumbling, dialing the emergency animal hospital number saved from a previous pet crisis years ago. "Cat emergency?" Jamie gasped as soon as the line connected, voice shaking. Senior cat, maybe 15 plus, severe infected wound on his flank, just collapsed and stopped. "Breathing. I did CPR. He's breathing now, but barely conscious. I'm bringing him in now." They rattled off their address, not waiting for questions, cradling Whisper close, feeling the terrifyingly faint thrum of his heartbeat against their palm. The drive was a blur of rain-slicked streets and panicked prayers. Whisper lay wrapped in a clean towel on the passenger seat, a faint, pained whimper escaping him with every bump. Jamie kept one hand lightly on his side, murmuring reassurances they didn't feel. "Hold on, old man. Just hold on. We're almost there. Grandma's waiting." The name felt strange, powerful. Alara, the woman who sang to her roses and whispered secrets to her cats. What secret had she buried for Whisper to find? The emergency vet, Dr. Eris, met them at the door, her face grim but focused as Jamie spilled the fragmented story. The mysterious arrival, the digging, the collapse, the CPR, the shocking discovery of the collar and the address. Dr. Aris's eyes widened slightly at 17 Willow Lane, but she said nothing, her hands already expertly assessing Whisper as they rushed him to a treatment room. Oxygen was administered, an IV line inserted into a fragile vein. Jamie stood frozen in the doorway, watching the flurry of activity, the beeping monitors, the hushed commands, the way Whisper's body looked so small and broken under the bright lights. The initial relief curdled into a fresh wave of dread. He looked worse here, under the clinical glare. Paler, smaller. "We need to clean and assess that wound immediately," Dr. Eris stated, her voice calm but edged with urgency. "The infection is severe and the collapse suggests possible systemic involvement or internal trauma. The CPR, it was the right thing, but it might have caused further damage given his fragility." She looked at Jamie. "I need your permission to stabilize him and do x-rays, blood work. It's critical, and it's not without risk." "Do it," Jamie said instantly, the words raw. "Please, whatever he needs." As Dr. Eris and a technician began gently shaving the fur around the wound, Jamie's phone buzzed. An unknown number. Heart leaping, Jamie answered. "Hello? Jamie? It's Ben Miller. From next door, back on Willow Lane. You left a frantic message about finding a cat. Whisper." The voice was older, rougher than Jamie remembered from their childhood neighbor. "Ben. Yes. Whisper. He's at the emergency." "Vet. It's bad. He showed up at my place, Grandma's old place. He had a collar with the Willow Lane address. Do you know anything? Where has he been?" A heavy sigh came down the line. Whisper, Lord Jamie. That old warrior, after your gran moved to Cedar Gardens, couldn't take him. Well, he vanished, just disappeared. We looked for weeks, figured coyotes or he just wandered off to pass. That was over 10 years ago. 10 years. Are you sure it's him? Positive, Jamie whispered, watching the vet probe the now exposed wound. It was deep, angry, oozing pus. "He came straight to the rosebush by the shed, Ben. He started digging." Silence. Then Ben's voice was thick. "The rosebush. Alara buried that old tin box of hers under there, right after your granddad passed. Said it was for when the time was right. Never knew what was in it. Never saw her dig it up." "You mean Whisper knew? After all this time?" "He was trying to get to it," Jamie confirmed, a shiver running down their spine. "He uncovered something before he collapsed. Leather, I think. I have to go back. I have to find it." The mystery deepened, intertwined with grief and a decade of survival. Where had Whisper lived? How had he survived? And what was in Alara's box that mattered so much? She'd entrusted its retrieval to a cat. Back at the house, under the relentless drizzle, Jamie crawled back under the shed. The thorny roses snagged their clothes. the smell of wet earth and decay thick. There, in the shallow depression Whisper had clawed, lay an object, not a tin box. A small rectangular pouch made of oilskin, dark with age and damp, tied with a rotting leather cord. Jamie's fingers closed around it. It felt solid, heavy for its size. The connection to Alara was almost tangible, a whisper from the past, carried on the cold air. "What did you leave, Grandma? And why for Whisper?" Returning to the clinic, the pouch felt like a live wire in Jamie's pocket. Dr. Eris met them in the stark waiting room, her expression unreadable. "We've stabilized." "Him barely," she began. "The wound is infected deeply. We've cleaned it, started strong antibiotics. But the x-rays?" She paused, her gaze direct. "Jamie, he has old fractures. Ribs, a hind leg that healed badly. And there's internal bleeding. Slow, but present. Likely from a recent trauma. Maybe a kick, a fall. Combined with the infection and his extreme age and frailty." The room tilted. Internal bleeding? But he was walking. He dug. "He shouldn't have been able to," Dr. Eris said gently. "The pain alone, the determination that must have taken, it's extraordinary. We can manage the infection. But the bleeding? Surgery is extremely high risk at his age with his condition. He might not survive anesthesia. Without it?" She didn't need to finish. The choice was brutal. Gamble on surgery with slim odds, or let him fade slowly, painfully. Jamie looked through the small window into the treatment area. Whisper lay on his side, an IV in his leg, oxygen tubing near his nose. His breathing was shallow, labored. His eyes were closed. The pouch in Jamie's pocket felt heavier. This cat had crossed years and miles, wounded and starving, driven by a loyalty beyond understanding to fulfill a promise to Alara. To give up now felt like betraying them both. "Do the surgery," Jamie said, the words scraping out. "Please, give him the chance." The wait was agony. Minutes bled into hours. Jamie paced the sterile waiting room, clutching the oilskin pouch, unable to open it. It belonged to Whisper. He'd earned the right to see it first if he survived. 3 bonding moments replayed in Jamie's mind. The first, gut-wrenching eye contact when Whisper recognized them in the kitchen. A silent bridge across years. The desperate touch of Jamie's hands performing CPR, forcing life back into his frail body. The shared fear in the car, Jamie's hand on his side, their fates intertwined in that terrifying race against time. Finally, Dr. Eris emerged, exhaustion etched deep into her face, but a flicker of something else in her eyes. Relief? Awe? "He's in recovery," she said, her voice husky. It was touch and go. The bleeding was worse than the scans showed. An old injury aggravated. We repaired it. He's incredibly weak. His body has been through hell, but his heart held. He's a fighter, Jamie. Like nothing I've ever seen. Weak-kneed with relief, Jamie followed her into the recovery area. Whisper lay on a heated pad, swathed in bandages, still connected to fluids and monitors, but breathing steadily under sedation. Dr. Eris gestured. "He needs quiet. But talk to him. He might hear you." Jamie knelt beside the cage, reaching. A trembling hand through the bars. They gently rested fingertips on Whisper's head between his ears, avoiding the bandages. His fur felt dry now, clean. "You did it, old man," Jamie whispered, tears finally spilling over. "You made it. You're safe." There was no purr, no movement, just the steady rise and fall of his chest. But Jamie felt it, a connection humming, in the quiet space between them. A bond forged in mystery, desperation, and shared defiance of death. Later, back home with Whisper resting in a quiet, warm nest of blankets, heavily medicated but stable, Jamie finally sat down with the oilskin pouch. The leather cord crumbled as they untied it. Inside, protected from decades of damp earth, lay 2 things. A simple tarnished silver locket on a delicate chain, and a folded sheet of paper, the writing unmistakably Alara's. Flowing, elegant, a little faded, Hands shaking, Jamie unfolded the letter. My dearest Whisper, if you're reading this, my clever silent boy, it means you found your way home when I could not. And it means you brought this to someone who loves that old garden as I did. Probably my Jamie, if the fates are kind. I'm sorry, my sweet warrior. So sorry to leave you. This place feels like walls closing in, and they won't let me bring you. But I couldn't let them take everything. Not this. The locket? It belonged to my own mother. Inside is a tiny pressed forget-me-not from the bush by the shed and a curl of your kitten fur from the day you came to me. My two quiet loves. It's not treasure, not really. Just a piece of my heart I couldn't bear to lose to strangers. When they sell the house, I knew you'd remember. You always watched me bury it that rainy afternoon, your eyes so wise. I whispered the secret to only you. I knew, clever boy, that if anyone could keep it safe, find it again, it was you. Even if it took years, even if I was gone, give it to whoever helped you, Whisper. Tell them it's the love that stays buried deep, waiting for the right heart to find it. Thank them for helping my brave boy come home. And if it's Jamie, tell them Grandma's roses missed them too. Be at peace now, my silent shadow. You carried my heart safely home. All my love, always, Ilara. Jamie's tears fell freely onto the paper. The locket clicked open. There lay the tiny blue flower, impossibly preserved, and a wisp of pale ginger fur. Not buried treasure, but buried love. Whisper hadn't just known where to go. He'd carried Ilara's final, whispered wish across a decade of solitude and suffering. The wound, the hardship, it was the price of an unwavering promise kept. Weeks passed. Whisper's recovery was slow, a testament to his indomitable spirit and Jamie's devoted care. The infection cleared, the surgery site healed, the internal bleeding stopped. He gained weight, his matted fur replaced by a soft, clean ginger coat. The cloudiness in his eyes remained, but they held a new peace, a deep contentment. He followed Jamie from room to room, a silent, warm presence, or slept, curled in a patch of sunlight, often near a vase holding cuttings from Alara's old rosebush, now thriving under Jamie's care. One crisp autumn morning, Jamie sat on the back porch steps, sipping tea. Whisper emerged from the house, moving with a newfound, deliberate grace. No limp, no hesitation. He walked past Jamie, past the spot where he'd first appeared, and straight towards the rejuvenated rose thicket near the shed. He didn't dig. He simply sat down amidst the fading blooms, turning his face towards the weak sun, his milky eyes half closed. Jamie watched him, the letter's words echoing. Be at peace. Now, my silent shadow. You carried my heart safely home. Whisper had done more than deliver a locket. He'd delivered Jamie back to Ilara's love, back to a sense of home they hadn't realized they'd lost. He'd bridged the years with silent, suffering loyalty. Jamie joined him, sitting quietly beside the ancient cat amidst the roses. They didn't speak. No words were needed. The shared journey, the mystery, the near death, the fragile hope, the profound revelation had woven them together in a way that transcended owner and pet. They were guardians of a secret love, bound by the courage of a cat who walked an ancient road alone to fulfill a promise. Whisper leaned his head gently against Jamie's leg. A deep, rumbling purr began, steady and strong, vibrating through the cool air, the sound of a heart finally at rest, a mission gloriously complete. Jamie placed a hand softly on his head, feeling the warmth, the life, the quiet, enduring wisdom. Sometimes the oldest souls walk the hardest roads, not to find their way home, but to lead yours back to where it belongs. The purr deepened, a quiet thunder in the tranquil garden, echoing long after the moment passed.